Well, just want to welcome everyone to this program. We're up here on a beautiful, partly cloudy and sun breaking through type of a day. I'm here with Fallon Molnar, and she's with Molnar Cattle Company. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So tell me, I know you're a sixth generation cattle farmer, so what's that like being in the cattle business?
Right now it's pretty good. Right now the cattle prices are high, and we have the lowest numbers of cattle in the U.S. in history right now. So we're just trying to keep those cows breeding, and we're keeping a lot of our own animals, just keep mother cows and get more beef out to the United States. So it's looking pretty good right now at the prices.
Nice. And what does your day-to-day operations look like for you? Like, tell me what a normal week would look like.
I take care of all the cows here on the coast. We do have other locations in the valley and up north in the King City area, but I pretty much run everything down here, and we have leases from San Luis to Cambria, and so I just kind of bounce around back and forth, checking on everything. When it's calving season, I'm checking every place every other day to make sure everything's okay. And then I do run the beef company myself as well, so I'm bringing animals in, picking beef up, sorting it, stacking it, packing orders, shipping orders, all kinds of stuff. Going to farmers markets and all that for the beef company as well. So,
and when is calving season? When is that?
Calving season starts for our heifers, our first-time mothers. We breed them a little bit early, so I think they start. This year we did the 1st of August. They'll start, and then our cows will start like 1st of November, maybe October, and then we'll go through mid-December for our cows. Yeah.
And I know some of your ancestors. Let's talk a little bit about the history of your company. I know, just doing a little research for our audience, started in 1870.
Yeah.
And they're in Cayucas Meat Market.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that story.
I have one brother. He's just younger than me, 4 years younger than me. My mom and dad, my mom's from the valley, so she married my dad, came over here, and I mean, he's been here his whole life in Cayucas, so we live on the family ranch that our family's had for generations. We don't only do cattle. My dad's, that's his passion, is cattle, but you can't make all your money in cattle and raise a family unless you have a pretty big operation. So he does ag construction, so he'll do roads and vineyards and creek restorations, and he actually works some fires with the dozer too for CDF. My mom does all the office stuff. She kind of runs everything as far as being in the office and paperwork. And then my brother just started a fencing company, so he'll work with my dad doing fencing, and he welds a little bit too. And then as far as we have another ranch that we own, what we recently purchased like 4 years ago now in San Ardo, California. It's just south of King City. And my brother is a hunting guide up there, so he'll guide wild game hunts up there on our place. And so you kind of have to diversify when you do this business. So that's kind of what we're doing. So now we kind of go around and we'll say, if we're on a ranch, we'll say, hey, we got this, and this. We could build you a house. We could build you a road. We can fix your fence. So it's kind of nice to be able to do whatever somebody needs that way.
Yeah, we always used to talk about not putting all your eggs in one basket, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's good to diversify.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
That's really an interesting story.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Of course.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the land. When people drive to the coast, you get a lot of people, from Fresno, Bakersfield. Farm to coast is kind of what I started thinking about when I started this program. But what are some things maybe that you enjoy seeing that maybe they don't see when they come this way?
Yeah, I enjoy seeing how clean we're able to keep it. And a lot of places like down LA or even up in Oregon, Oregon's a little more lenient on where people can go, and they just trash the place. There's paths beaten into everything. There's trash everywhere. There's people just leave stuff. So I like how clean we're able to keep it here. And I know there are programs in town that help clean that up, but we're very fortunate to have those people help us keep it clean. And I know people don't love to hear this part, but I love that a lot of it is privately owned, because we can keep it looking natural. And because people do, they have a tendency to, trash stuff every now and then. So it is, a lot of it is privately owned. So that's nice that we can keep it that way and keep the landscape looking great. And I don't think people realize how many cows are in this area. I have a lot of people that are out of state friends that are like, oh, you're in California? And I'm like, yeah, we do cows. And they're like, well, are there really any cows in California? I'm like, yeah, that's what most of California is. And everybody looks around and they just see the beach, but they don't look east. And there's a lot of cows in that area. So it's really good country to run them because there's just tons of grass and open area.
Yeah, I agree. I think this area is just almost pristine. I do a lot of bicycling and that sort of thing north, going to Cambria, and it is very clean. I see a lot of litter crews picking up garbage, sacks of it, and so it's always nice to keep this area just beautiful.
Yeah.
So, well, let's talk a little bit about the land. Like, what is it about the grass that you think is real good for the cattle? As far as nutrients and that sort of thing.
Yeah. The grass here is great. It's very thick, and there's a lot of different types of grass, a lot of varieties here, and one of the biggest ones is the ryegrass comes up, and that's not native to this area, but they did bring it in. I think, I don't know, 100 years ago or something like that. They started planting it, and then it's blown all over the place, and it's been very prosperous to have cattle here. And then there is some fillery that I believe is native to this area. It's the little stuff with the little purple flowers you can see there on the ground. It grows really low to the ground, but it does have a high nutrient content. So
the cattle like that?
They do. They just chase it. They love it. Even though it gets only like 3 inches high, sometimes they love that stuff. So they do really good on that. And when it rains, this place looks amazing. The grass, this ranch, we didn't even have to feed hay this year. We just let them graze with what was left. And the cows do a good job at keeping the weeds down too. You don't see, there's some brush here on these rocky hillsides, but out in the open flats and stuff where brush would normally grow, like if you look at the Land Conservancy behind us, there's just brush growing on an open hillside. You don't see that with the cattle because they keep that down, and the mustard, they keep that down, so they eat everything while it's young and it tastes good, so it doesn't get super tall and you can't see the hillside. So it's a pretty good biodiverse area here.
All right, so before we get back to cattle, let's divert a little bit. We both went to Oregon State University. Tell me, what was it like going to Oregon State University in Corvallis, Oregon?
I really enjoyed it. It reminded me a lot of San Luis. It was a little smaller than San Luis, so that's good to me. The community was great. They love Oregon State. They're super big fans. The sports facilities were great. It was great being in the Pac-12. You get like the celebrity treatment being in the Pac-12. Because Nike takes care of everybody there. Because he went to University of Oregon, so he takes care of everybody in the Pac-12.
Ducks.
Yeah, the Ducks.
We don't talk about the Ducks too much.
No, we don't like the Ducks very much.
No, we like Beavers.
Yeah. And so it was great. The ag program, it's a lot smaller than Cal Poly's, but it was fun to be in because it was smaller, so you kind of knew everybody.
So you were an ag major?
Yeah. I majored in ag business, minored in animal science and ag science.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I know they have quite a program there.
Yeah, it's the biggest in Oregon. They have the veterinary program is probably one of the biggest in the U.S. A lot of people come there to do that because they fly in. When I was there, they flew in a police dog from another state that got harmed somehow, and they flew him to Oregon State because they have the best vets. So they do a good job with that part of it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I was there many years before you got there, but talk to us a little bit about your softball experience. I know exactly the field you play on. That field didn't exist when I was going to school there.
Oh, really?
No, that whole area was not built out, but that's a nice softball field.
Yeah, they've done a lot of renovations after I left. I was lucky enough to get to enjoy the hitting facility for a year before I left, and before that, it was just 2 batting cages out in the dirt behind the field.
Yeah.
So now they have the Jumbotron, and they did put in lights when I was there, and it was great. They took us everywhere. We went and played in Louisiana, Texas. We flew all the way to Hawaii. They flew us everywhere to do preseason stuff, and then all over the Pac-12. So it was great to be able to do that. There are a lot of politics in it, so I wouldn't choose it now. It's a little different than even in the 5 years that I've been out of it. But it was fun while I was there.
Yeah. That's a big commitment being a college athlete, right? In the Pac-12. It was Pac-10 when I was going there, right?
Yeah.
So Pac-12, just a It's a huge commitment.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you really
Your whole
don't have
life is-
your life is all about.
Yeah, and even the summers, like they'd want you to practice all summer. You'd have running and fitness tests you'd have to do when you came back, so that you could prove that you're practicing all summer. And they have a certain amount of hours that you're set to legally have, but if you're not going to play unless you put in a certain amount, your own time that's not qualified as team hours. So you really got to do it every day,
Right.
So it's kind of it's more than a full-time job.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's turning this home, and thanks for being with us,
Of course.
Fallon. It's been amazing. If you look out and project 50 years from now, do you have any type of a vision for your ranch? Or I know small family-held businesses it's tough to keep things going and keep the next generation motivated. So, have you given much thought to the next 50 years?
Yeah, I'm hoping to someday pass something great along to my kids, and I'm really hoping that this beef company will kind of take off. And I think I just got to get better at social media with it, because that's where it seems like it's going now. But we're hoping to vertically integrate and not have to sell any of our cattle, because right now we sell a couple loads on the video market to just mass producers that need cattle, just freshly weaned cattle to put in their feedlots and fill their ranches with in other states. But I would like to keep all of our own and slaughter our own and have the customers to keep our cattle and keep it local, or even just online and ship it ourselves. And so I would like to get more into, we're really big into the regenerative thing right now. We have some rotational grazing on one of our other ranches, and we're very big into I guess they always say, we raise cattle, but we also raise the land too, and we use the cattle to do that. So that's a big thing that I want to kind of help others implement, and I have some smaller folks that I've been helping out and advising on that, just trying to get it back to the way it should be, and not undergraze and not overgraze, and make that a priority in the industry today.
What's some of the biggest challenges the industry faces, or you as a small company face? Like, what are some of your challenges?
I think the biggest challenge, it used to be drought, but luckily we're doing pretty good now the last 3 years. But that could always come back, like that. So I would say the amount of land, because it's you don't make a ton of money in the cattle business, and you can't buy your own land really. So finding leases and people that are willing to let us kind of renovate their places and help them with the fence in order and that kind of thing. Just get more cattle out there, because we are in a shortage. That's why we have to import so much beef from other countries, and it would be nice to not be able to, not have to do that. So just finding the land to put physical cattle on, that's definitely one of the biggest issues.
Let's talk a little bit about strengths of your company. What do you think, being a smaller company, raising your own cattle, you have your own customers you've built up, they're buying your beef. What are some of the things what are some strengths you think as a smaller company? I
think it's nice because we can do whatever we want. We don't have to answer to anybody. There are people you have to answer to, like the whole USDA processing deal. It has to be USDA processed to be able to sell at retail to people. And there's only 2 in this area, a couple in the valley, and some of them are hard to work with. And some of them are nice, but the price is just insane to slaughter anything right now. So that's been tough. But I think it's nice to be able to make that choice. Whereas larger producers, they're the guys that are actually doing the work are just, they have a boss, and the boss tells them, here you go, and that's what you do. But we get to make our own decisions. So that's nice. That's very nice.
Okay, cool. Let's talk, and we'll wrap this up. What are some opportunities that you see in the near future, or looking out a few years from now? Do you see any opportunities for your company, and where would you like to expand if you're able to?
Yeah, I just got into a farmer's market down in LA, and it's the Valencia farmer's market down there. And the people down there have been loving our product, because they don't have anything like it down there, because nobody, there's a couple of people that raise beef down there, but they're small, and they might not be grass fed as well, because the grass is different down there. And so I've been loving going down there and just meeting all these people and telling them our story. And I would love to expand into those bigger areas and just kind of show people, how the truth, because everybody hears all this stuff about the media, and I'm like, half that stuff's not true. People are just trying to scare you to not eat meat, and that's what the media wants right now. And so I would love to get down there, or even up to San Francisco, the bigger cities, and inform people, and hey, try our product, see how it is. And the California Cattlemen's actually just came out. I went to a meeting in Monterey a couple weeks ago, and that one of the guys that works for the National Angus Association came up and spoke, and he said that the Los Angeles schools are now starting to want to get into grass-fed beef. So I'm hoping that could be a possibility. We'll see if they have enough of the grants to do that, but I'd love to start getting that down there, because here I supply all the schools in our county with beef, so those students love it. So I'd like to get it down there as well.
How about restaurants? Are you able to sell to restaurants? Do you have any clientele in the restaurant industry, or how does that work? That
one's kind of tough, because restaurants usually just want, the ground beef is obviously great. They'd like that, but they just usually want like fillets and ribeyes. And fillets, you only get really, if you're lucky, like 14 fillets off of an animal. So that's one night at a restaurant. So it's kind of difficult to supply restaurants unless they're pretty small scale and they can supplement it some other way. So they don't really love it. And then the grass-fed is not a consistent product, because you are eating with the seasons. So this time of year, the fat's, it's a little bit leaner, and the fat's a little more yellow.
I see.
And the restaurants just want like a pretty consistent product. So in ground beef, it's a little easier, because if you have, if it's a little leaner, the butcher just keeps some of my fat, so they'll throw it in there, and it's a little more general. But the steaks is, they want more of a consistent product.
I see. A few years ago, when I was working at Merrill Lynch, I had a client who raised cattle up in Angels Camp.
Oh, okay.
And it was grass-fed beef, and we'd order every year.
Yeah.
And we loved the meat. The hamburger is basically ground up steak, pretty much.
Yeah,
and it was high quality.
It is.
And everybody had always, we'd have neighbors and friends over, and they said, "Oh, that meat's amazing." And I said, "Yeah, it's grass-fed beef."
Yeah.
It's not as marbled, as I guess the corn-fed beef, I guess, towards the end. But anyways, could you talk a little bit about marbling and that sort of thing, and how your meat might be a little different than someone else's beef?
Yeah, and this is my 6th year doing this, so I'm a little bit better at choosing which animal to slaughter, and I try to do most of my slaughtering from like May to November, because the grass is not green. And so when the grass is not green, they're eating the natural seed in the grass, so their fat's a little bit wider and they're marbled a little better. So I try to slaughter in the summer, late spring and fall, when the grasses turn to seed. And then the winter here, there's not a ton of seed on the grass yet, so they do get that little kind of more beefy, almost gamier taste a little bit. But I do have some pretty fat ones that taste good enough at this time of year. But for the most part, it's all up to the color of the grass and how much seed they're getting from the natural grass.
Nice.
And so like in the summertime, or like June, July is probably the best time to do it, because you get those 3-year-old steers, and they'll just be marbled like Wagyu, and you're like, wow, this is insane. You wouldn't even be able to tell it's not grain-fed, because they're marbled so well off the grass. But yeah, in the wintertime, it gets a little yellow.
Felon, you live in a beautiful area, you work in a beautiful area, and one of the attractions for people that live in the valley inland, right? It's 106 degrees, 110. They come over here and it's foggy, 55, and they need a sweatshirt. So talk a little bit about like the history of this place and what makes it such a special place to you personally.
Let's see. This area is very unique, because down south it does get warm at the beaches down there, but up here, right here, it's like, in my opinion, I love this weather. A lot of people are like, "Oh, it's too cold for me," but I love it. It never gets over 80 degrees, and usually it's never under 55 degrees, and so year round. And even the summer will get up into the 90s, maybe like 3 days, and you'll go to the beach, and that's that. But I love this area here, because it makes it easy for ranching, because you can ranch all year round. There's no snow or anything. So for the folks in the valley, they love coming in the summer, and it's great. And our town does really well with the tourism, because it's just 100 degrees over there, and they want to come hang out by the beach. And so I think that's great. We got a lot of good restaurants here now. We got a lot of stuff to do. There's live music at the some breweries and stuff now. It's a great place to go for that. And then I have friends that have Clydesdale guided rides in Cambria, so there's fun stuff to do during the day, and we'll give ranch tours and stuff, so people can kind of get to know the area a lot more like that. And then this ranch we're on here is actually called the China Harbor Ranch, and this one our family has leased for at least 15 years, maybe more than that. And it actually has a plaque down there on the beach that says the significance of this area, because this was the next harbor north from Cayucas, and it's kind of more of a secret harbor back in the day. They would kind of sneak stuff in. It was like during the Prohibition, they'd bring stuff in. They'd unload animals, and you know, it was kind of their like smaller, more
They would unload down here.
Yeah, like see. Right there down
Wow.
in the bay down there. They had little boats that would come up, and they'd bring dairy cows from Switzerland, and hogs and sheep and stuff like that too. But it was a very well trafficked harbor at the time for the people that were kind of in the know. Cayucas was a big one, but so this ranch is just amazing. This is definitely my favorite place to be on earth. It's just gorgeous, and the grass is great. The cattle love it here. The weather's great, so it's a great spot.
What do cattle do? It's kind of a side comment here, but what do cattle do? When do they sleep? Because it seems like every time I see them, they're always eating.
Yeah.
So this is just not a rancher type of person. So do they sleep at all, or?
Yeah, they sleep all the time. They'll be up grazing in the morning, like right before dark, and they'll sleep all night. And sometimes they graze in the night. Sometimes they'll get bored and hang out. They kind of just take naps a lot.
Okay.
And so during the day they'll take a nap, and they'll lay down and chew their cud, because they regurgitate what they've eaten and chew it again, and swallow it again. So they'll do that, and they'll kind of take a nap and sleep during the day, and so it's kind of take cat naps.
I was talking to another rancher, and he says that they're very they're pattern animals. So,
yes, very
much. And like I noticed, I'm in North Morro Bay. We got probably Angus right above us, but they will come down in the morning time, and then they'll go up on the hills later in the day, and then it seems like they do like a circular track or something. Is that pretty common?
Yeah. Cattle, they like to graze horizontally, so that's why you see all the cattle trails on the hillside.
Okay.
They don't usually go straight up and straight down, so they'll kind of come down, and then they'll kind of do a diagonal up the hill, and then they'll kind of come back over. But they do like to hang around water, so they'll kind of make water the edge of their circle. And during the day when they take their little cat nap, they'll usually like to be under a tree or by water. And then some cattle like to be at the top of the hill, some like to be at the bottom of the hill. It's just kind of a matter of what they prefer. So they're very pattern
And
animals.
do they have like a winter coat, a summer coat,
Yeah.
that sort of thing?
Yeah, they're shedding their winter coat right now because it's been so warm so early on this year.
Okay.
But yeah, they do get pretty fluffy in the wintertime, and then they just kind of rub on rocks and brush, and it'll kind of rub off, and they'll be in that new summer coat.
How do they do with rain and wind and all that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, that's why Angus are so great, because they adapt well to things, and they actually do better when it's a little bit cooler. And so that's why in Montana, they'll have them in the snow, and they'll calve in February in Montana, and it's, below freezing. And so they do well in the rain. They'll either hide under a tree, or they'll all kind of group together and put their head away from the storm, so the rain will kind of hit them in the back. And they do fine. It stops raining, and they have a pretty good undercoat, so they kind of stay dry under there. And so they'll band together, and they're obviously herd animals. So
I see.
Yeah, they stick together to weather the storm.
Yeah, before my farm to coast story, grew up in Turlock, and we did a little sideshow for 3 years. Wife and I went on an adventure up to North Idaho.
Oh wow!
So we lived up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Yeah.
And so I retired from private wealth, and then I drove a school bus for 2 years.
Oh wow!
So one of the fun things about driving for the school district was I drove in a lot of outlying areas, but I would see cattle out in sub-zero weather, and seemed like they were doing just fine.
Yep. Yeah, they adapt very well.
Fallon, one of the things that inspired me to kind of start this whole series is the idea of farm to coast, and how a lot of people migrated to the coast many years ago, and so including your family, right, from Switzerland. And anyways, just want to see, what does farm to coast mean to you?
To me, I think that's important, because you can't really grow everything and raise everything here on the coast. So it's nice to be able to get local people to bring stuff here for the people that live here, because most people are just kind of, you know, into surfing or into water sports here, and they don't really have a lot of options as far as what to eat. And so I think just having that, bringing the farm to table here at the coast is important to you know, let everybody have that option.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that whole idea of farm to table and that sort of thing. Like, that's kind of a big thing in the industry right now, right?
Yeah.
People want to know, what am I eating and where's it coming from?
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. How
So,
it was raised.
yeah.
And, yeah.
And that's what your company's doing, and that's what you stand for. And keep doing a great work. And I look forward to watching you guys develop, and hopefully we can stay in touch.
Thank you. Yeah.
All
Sounds
right.
great.
Sounds great. Thank you. Thanks for joining us on Farm to Coast.
Of course.